Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Kevin Cherry here with Fight for Length. Today, we're going to be talking about, how the gospel saves you, and we're going to move forward with that. And what we're going to be covering today, basically, is what is sin and how it causes pain, why Jesus came down to save us from it, and believing what He did for us on the cross. But before I move on, let me just give you a little bit about myself. Back in the day when I was younger, in my early teenage years, and around my 20s, I suffered from a lot of abuse growing up, and I went to high school and got peer pressured into a lot of things, and one of the reliefs I got myself into to thinking that it became a relief was basically smoking and drinking, and basically that ended up in me selling drugs, and also getting into a relationship which was very abusive and towards each other, and that eventually caused me to get locked up several times. And my last time basically getting locked up, I did quite a bit of time. I did about a year and a half, and that's where I met Jesus. Really got a chance to know Him. Really got a chance to allow Him to pour into my life and show me who He really is. I started reading the Bible, started really getting into the Word. Just allowing the Word to change my mind, because the way I was thinking was very toxic. It was very bad, just my past and things like that. And from there, I came out of jail and I started going to church, and met up with some positive, loving people that has been pouring into my life and helping me to become better in this walk. And ever since then, I've been on a mission to help people understand that that Jesus is real and that He loves you. And just like He changed my life from back then to now, He can change your life as well. Okay, so what is sin and how it causes pain? So first of all, sin is in us since birth. We was born with sin. Sin is basically a way of doing things that is not in agreement with what our Creator, God, our Father, would have us do it. So basically, if you was a child, and there's some rules set in the house, and you go ahead and do something that your mom or your dad told you not to do, basically that's doing something bad, and that's not in agreement with the rules of the house. So basically this happened because of what happened in the garden. You probably heard the story before of Adam and Eve. They were told not to do something, and they were influenced by the devil to do it, and because of that, sin came into the world. Okay, sin is basically doing things that's not in agreement with God. All right, and that basically separated us from our Father, from the Creator. Basically, so you can have a loving relationship with your father and your mother, and they tell you not to do something, and then you go ahead and do it. That therefore brings a separation. That therefore, it kind of severs that happiness and that joy that you had with your parents when you say you're a teenager and you go ahead and steal the car. The day before you had dinner, everything was good in the house, and you go and you steal the car. Now that relationship got severed. So that's what happens. That's what happens when we sin. It separates us from our Father. And also it brings death, it brings decay, and it brings pain. Doing these things, they make our lives worse. If you go in and steal, if you're killing, if you're lying, you're doing all these things, and makes things worse for you. Like it made things worse for me. I ended up drinking and smoking and selling drugs, and being in a relationship that was not healthy for me. It just caused a lot of pain. And, thank God that I started reading the Word to know that what is in agreement with our Father, and started allowing Him to help me to do those things. Then I started to walk away from all those pains. All right, so why Jesus came down and save us from it? Okay, it says in John 3:16, God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth on Him should not perish but have everlasting life, right? So God loves us very much. Just like any parent, God loves us. I'm talking about unconditional love. When I think of his love, it brings me to tears, because I'm like, man, that is a lot of love, to be experiencing. That is a lot of love. And, he sent Jesus on a rescue mission because he couldn't stand the fact of being separated from us. Although we didn't know we were separated from him, but he knew that we're separated from him. And so he sent his only son on a rescue mission to come and rescue us from this sin, this thing that's causing separation from him and us. So Jesus came down to bring us back to a close relationship with God, because Adam and Eve, when they were in the garden, before they ate the fruit, they were in close relationship with God. And when they ate that fruit, that separated them. And so from that day forward, God had a plan to send his son to bring us back in relationship with him. So, turn away from sin. So when Jesus came, he came to give us that strength to turn away from sin and to walk towards life. So Jesus himself is life. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one can come back to the Father except through him. So that's why Jesus came down. And basically, we can't do it on our own. I remember being back in the day when I got entangled into smoking weed. I tried to stop smoking weed so much times, and I just could not, stay not smoking weed and not drinking, until eventually, just being close with Jesus, he gave me the strength to stop doing these things. So sin, when it comes into your life, when you start practicing it, you cannot stop doing it on your own. No matter how much you try, it's going to keep on coming back. And basically, he gives us the power to do it. So believing what he did for us on the cross. The wages of sin is death. When you do sin, it causes death. It causes pain. It causes decay. When I was doing those things I was doing, it caused me a lot of trouble, caused me to get into debt. It caused me a lot of sadness and sorrow and depression. These are the things that was leading to death. Eventually caused me to go into prison. And prison is not a good place to be. So he came to die in our place, right? So, eventually, if you continue to sin, continue to do these things, you will die in it, and you'll go to what is called an eternal jail, an eternal prison, where is nothing but pain and suffering. And Jesus came to take that from us and do it in our place, so that we wouldn't have to do it. That's how much he loves us. So he came to give us a life transfer. He came to give us his life for our old life. Okay, so we give him our old life for his new life, right? And how do we do that? We do that by believing what he did for us on the cross. He came to die for us on the cross, so that he took all of our punishments, all of our the things that we would have got because of sin, because there's consequences to doing what's wrong. And he came to take all that upon himself for each and every one of us, each individual in this world. He came to take that sin upon himself, so that if you were to believe in him, you would get his life instead of that old life and the old consequences. You get the consequences of a new life, which is abundance, joy, peace, love, and all the good things that God has for us. So basically, how do we get all this? Simply by believing in Jesus Christ. That's it. You believe that he came to die for you on the cross, and you accept that into your heart, and you get that life transfer. It's that simple. So as you're watching this video right now, you might not know who Jesus is, but let me tell you, that man loves you. He adores you. He wants you back into his life. He wants that relationship with you. He wants to talk to you on a regular basis, and he wants to bring you back to where it used to be before sin came into the world. So if you don't know Jesus, just accept him. Say, Jesus, I believe. I don't really understand, but I believe that you came to die for me on the cross. And I know these things that are in my life right now are not good. And I know that I've tried to stop doing them and I can't. So I want to see your strength help me to stop doing these things. So I believe, and I believe you in my heart, and confess this out loud. I believe that Jesus died for me on the cross. And from that day forward, you will start to see a change in your life. All right. So as you're watching this video, like, comment, share, so that other people can know what Jesus did for them on the cross. All right. It's Curvin Cherry with Fight for Link. Until next time, I'll see you soon.